Updates coming in on the global Microsoft outage that's been reported and has led to a major disruption in services. Flight cancellations, banking services down, media networks down, and this is being reported across the world, including here in India. Largely in India, the impact has been restricted to flight services, where airports have been completely crippled as a result of this tech glitch. The Delhi airport, Mumbai, Kolkata, we're seeing right now delays being reported in all of these parts, handwritten boarding passes being handed out because the systems are completely down. Officials on ground, security personnel and many others who are at these airports are doing everything they can to ensure smooth operations without any of the computers right now functioning. Kanishk Kaur, cyber security expert, is joining us on this broadcast. Kanishk, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on India Today. What we're seeing right now is unprecedented, almost apocalyptic in several countries across the world. And the question everyone's asking is, how long is this going to take? How long are we going to see this kind of an outage?
Hi, Akshita, thank you for inviting me. I think it's going to take minimum 2 to 3 hours for this to get resolved. It is a major security lapse that have happened on the side of CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is a major cybersecurity company which provides endpoint security solutions and security monitoring. This issue is with respect to their Falcon sensor, which is providing security on Microsoft. So wherever CrowdStrike is deployed on Microsoft systems, the systems are crashing, and it is happening globally across banks. It's happening at hospitals. It's happening at airports. I am at an airport, and there is a major disruption here as well. The company CrowdStrike, its shares have gone down by 18%. It is listed on NASDAQ, so it is not an issue with Microsoft, but with CrowdStrike, which is used for providing security solutions on top of Microsoft. So any company which is today using CrowdStrike on Microsoft systems is seeing their systems appearing blue. The systems are not able to boot. Normally, such disruptions take bare minimum 4 to 5 hours. Companies invoke their BCP plan, business continuity plan, to ensure there is continuity of operations, and disaster recovery methods are created to ensure that there are mechanisms put in for resolving this. Microsoft and CrowdStrike will have to work together to ensure that systems are live, up and running, but you will see major chaos, which is going to happen across the airports, across retail shops, across banks, across IT companies, which are using companies like CrowdStrike for security.
Kanishk, we'll get back to, of course, the technicalities of what we're seeing right now. But if I caught it right, you said you're at an airport currently. So can you tell me where you are and what's the situation currently?
So
did you get a handwritten boarding pass too?
I got a handwritten boarding pass. I'm at the Delhi airport right now. So there is major...
I hope... Can you just show us around, Kanishk, if possible? Can you just show us what's happening around you? If you just flip your camera around.
So you see that there are major people which are right now waiting. There are long queues which are there. So I'm there inside, and there is a lot of people who are around here, right? So it's a major issue, and similar situation is there when you're trying to get into the airport. There are long queues which are there right now.
So getting into the airport is a challenge, check-in is a challenge, security is a challenge, boarding is a challenge.
Yes.
And that's what's leading to the delay right now in flights across the country. But explain to us also, Kanishk, at this point, look, internationally, globally, we're seeing banking services being hit, transport networks that are down, flights, as we mentioned, media networks that are down. In India, relatively, it's not been as hard hitting. It's been, yes, flight operations which have taken a hit, airport services very badly affected. But beyond that, we don't see the kind of widespread impact that it's having globally. Why is that?
See, this is where security is required. Security is normally required on critical infrastructure. So critical infrastructure includes your banking, which includes your airports, airlines, power systems, hospitals. So wherever there are critical systems, you would see security systems of CrowdStrike getting deployed, particularly the CrowdStrike sensor systems, which are Falcon sensor systems, which are getting deployed. So anyone who's trying to access will see a blue screen. So major IT service providers which are using CrowdStrike would have disruptions, which could be companies like Tech Mahindra, HCL, Infosys, Wipro in India. Globally, companies like Accenture, Deloitte, they would see disruptions when they are providing services to airports, when they are providing services to airlines. You would see disruptions happening for large data centers, which will include NIC, a data center, which is government's data center. Telecom service providers will also see an impact because they also would use CrowdStrike. So wherever security is critical and company like CrowdStrike fails, you would see systems getting disrupted and blue screens appearing. So that's one of the key issues which we will see. This company again is seeing a major hit on its stock price, and you would see a notice and advisory coming out of it. Now, in India, what happens is when something like this happens, you have to inform the computer emergency response team, which is the CERT, within 4 hours of the disruption. So the CERT has been informed.
Yeah.
At the same time, the government will issue advisory on how companies can continue their operations. The critical infrastructure service provider, which is NCIIPCC, National Critical Infrastructure Information Protection Center, they are informed. You would see advisories which will come out from Ministry of Information Technology. Ashwini Vaishnav has spoken about it.
Correct.
You would also see advisories which will come from Ministry of Civil Aviation. You would see advisories also coming from the healthcare department, because every system which is today on critical will get impacted because of this.
And do you see, so as of now, statements have come in from the SBI, the NSE, all of them saying that their operations haven't been impacted just yet. But do you see it happening if the situation isn't resolved in the next few hours? Do you think that that will mean a larger impact for India as well?
I don't think so. Whatever systems where there was dependence on CrowdStrike's Falcon sensor, they will get impacted. So there won't be any new impact, but wherever the impact has already happened, that is going to be a longer one. That's what I would say. So what has not been resolved for last 2 hours, which might take even 4 to 5 hours or even more, that's going to be the key aspect, because companies will look at bypassing CrowdStrike's solutions using proxies to ensure they are able to access Microsoft software systems and restoration happens. Now, this is like a short-term solution. As soon as you would see CrowdStrike building up a patch which is effective, people will go back to their other method, which could have more disruption.
Okay, interesting.
So that's yes.
You know, at
so
this point, there's also questions being asked. Sure, there are also questions being asked right now, Kanishk, about whether there's an over-reliance on Microsoft, whether there's over-dependency on Microsoft. Do you think that this starts a conversation on that as well, about whether there should be a plan B in place?
So I think it's not an over-reliance on Microsoft. There is larger companies which provide best of the solutions. And this issue is not with Microsoft. The issue is with CrowdStrike, which is a major cybersecurity company. They're providing security on Microsoft. So it's not directly to do with Microsoft, but a major cybersecurity company which is listed on NASDAQ, which is worth billions of dollars and is used globally, right? So that's one of the big questions. Of course, it has impacted Microsoft because most of the companies today use Microsoft systems and software as a base. So that's there. But it is to do with CrowdStrike and not with Microsoft. Is something we must be careful when we discuss these issues. That's why companies build up their business continuity and disaster recovery operations. And that has been challenged today. As we talk, we would see that major business continuity operations should have been up and live to ensure restoration, but that hasn't happened. So these companies will have to go back and see how they learn from this and ensure this doesn't happen tomorrow on Google, Apple, Dell, Adobe, any of the other service providers, because then another similar disruption can happen. If the sensors of Falcon have impacted Microsoft, it could impact Google as well. So that's one of the key things, that the situation doesn't escalate.
The other question that comes up, looking at the situation globally in countries like America, where they're so reliant really on tech and everything's online essentially, which is why you're seeing everything coming to a grinding halt right now. The question also arises that in this kind of a situation, is there also a cybersecurity threat that they'll be keeping in mind?
See, there is cybersecurity threat because there is a war which is happening globally between Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Palestine. And companies do get impacted because the physical conflict on ground leads to cyber conflict. We have seen cyber attacks that have happened in the past on Microsoft and other service providers. So there is always an element of geopolitics which comes into the picture, because a lot of these software service providers today either come from the US or they come from Israel, and they are major conflicts where these countries are involved. So any service provider, any software company which originates or has a base from these companies could also be impacted because of state-sponsored activism. And we have seen Russia disrupting some of the US-based software service companies. We have also seen Hamas and Palestine attacking Israeli cybersecurity and software companies that have happened in the past. So that's always an issue in case of global, scale war, which happens involving multiple countries.
Okay, interestingly, Russia at this point hasn't been affected at all by this particular issue, by this outage, courtesy the sanctions, and because of the fact that Microsoft isn't functional really in Russia at this point, which is why they've even issued a statement saying that it once again shows the importance of import substitution of foreign software. Thanks very much, Kanishk. I hope your flight isn't delayed. What's the situation on your flight?
I'm just waiting for when I'll get to fly. So just waiting. There's a long queue. Let's see. Hope it gets resolved soon.
We hope
keeping my fingers crossed.
We hope for the best. We hope your flight isn't delayed too long. Thanks very much, Kanishk, for joining us